beep,
beep,
bing, bing,
beep,
bang,
beep,
bang, bang, bing,
beep,
bing,
beep,
bang,
beep,
bang, bang,
beep,
beep, beep, beep, beep,
er- er-
beep, boop, 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 boop,
error.
boop, boop. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Science Actually Presents the Nerd and the Scientist. I am the nerd, Benjamin, and with me is the scientist, Kovi. Hey, Kovi, how you doing?
Hello. I'm doing well, Benjamin. I'm also a nerd, and I will continue to reject your categorization of me being only a scientist. I'm offended by that. And on behalf of
Well, if
all
we
my
can call
fellow
the show the
scientists.
Nerd and the Nerd Plus Scientist, that's like, okay. Kovi's got all the accolades, and, Benjamin's
We
just this guy.
just like do a PhD, and then we can both be, we can be the nerds and the scientists.
Does it have to be from a legitimate university, or can I just make it up?
Depends which made-up university were you thinking about.
University of Phoenix Online.
University of Phoenix Online. Unfortunately, I cannot accept the credentials from any Arizona-based university, real or fictitious. That's where I draw the line. I got to draw the line somewhere.
I'm gonna.
I should check our map to see if we have listeners in Arizona before I talk smack.
I like Arizona because right now that's where spring training baseball is happening. I like baseball, but I like science a little more. Just a lot more.
All right.
Everybody in Arizona, the man who just said such horribly bad things and just insulted your entire statehood is an Australian, and I want you to know that I'm an American. I stood up for you. You guys are awesome.
As I check the map, I notice not a single listener in Arizona, so I think I'm safe for now. The hordes won't get to me.
Yeah, Arizona. I like Arizona. Quick shout out to bootleggers in Scottsdale, Arizona, with the biggest sampling of bacon. All right. Anyway, you know what they don't have a lot of in Arizona?
What, Benjamin?
It's a very deserty place. Speaking of Arizona,
loving that segue.
That's a good segue. But you know what they have lots of deserty stuff, but not a lot of water.
Water.
Well, they have rainfall and they have some reservoirs, I'm sure, but not a very watery place.
Huh.
And
interesting.
Yeah. But Earth, as we know it, is quite the watery place. Or is it?
No, I think it is.
Well, actually, sure. This episode is going to be about water worlds, the ones with and without Kevin Costner. Starting with the one with Kevin Costner.
Yes.
It's Earth. And we're going to talk about other worlds that we know of that have or are believed to have water. And we're starting from Earth, and we're going to work our way out. And I know what a lot of you were thinking. Some of you are thinking a common misconception that the Earth is 70% water, but no. It's only 70 or so percent covered with water, the surface. Only 2.5% of that water is fresh or drinkable water. And this part I had to look up because I was kind of curious. Only 0.02% of the Earth's mass is water. It's mostly rocky and some gaseous bits. But we know we have some subsurface oceans or hypothesized, but even still, most of the Earth is not water. But we like it, and we kind of use it. And it's the basis for all sorts of lovely beverages and life. Or I should say life and beverages. I'm not sure which one's more important.
I mean, what's the point of life if you can't have delicious beverages? Like, why even bother, right? I think I think it's interesting though that it's like it never has been more typified, this expression of water everywhere but not a drop to drink, because it's something only like 3% of the water on Earth that's actually drinkable, consumable by humans. but hey, we're figuring out desalination. We've not really
Mm-hmm.
quite got it to scale in any significant way yet, but like once we figure that out, we're sorted. You know,
Yeah, we do have some wonderful desalinization plants.
I think
Entire industry, actually.
it's a really cool industry. I'm like curious. I guess in that movie that you referenced, the Kevin Costner movie Waterworld, which was a wonderful post-apocalyptic film, like most films in the '90s were, um, where basically everyone lives on the water. The Earth's surface, I guess, is completely covered in water. I don't remember the plot. I just remember like everybody looked like these grimy post-apocalyptic Mad Max type figures, but like I get that you can't drink the water, but you can clean yourself with the water. Why is everybody oh so dirty in the movie Waterworld?
Huh. Well, considering the fact that they're all floating around in whatever garbage is left, they're technically living in garbage. And well, there's a couple references or to like I don't want to start analyzing Waterworld. That's a bad movie. There were a couple of references to golly gee, mutations happening to people. Something else happened to the world. And when they got to that one little mini floating city town thing, um, there's mention of how reproduction, you know, after a while, you kind of need some outside input to make it less creepy or gross. So maybe there's something going on. But then again, the Earth flooding to such a point where there's nothing poking out the top of the surface is not going to happen.
No.
Sea levels can rise, and they just very well might, but not to Kevin Costner levels.
Okay, so I'll remember that the next time I'm reading a paper about the effects of climate change, and I'll look out for the marker about sea levels are rising, and they're rising by about a third of a centimeter every year, but based on our projections, we will not reach Kevin Costner levels at least for the next few
No,
centuries.
no.
Okay, it's good. It's good to know.
So that's Earth.
That's Earth. Yeah, sorry, we got stuck
That's
on Kevin
Earth.
Costner.
Uh, water. We have liquid water on the surface of Earth, and therefore we refer to Earth as our big blue marble or our pale blue dot, as we often
Mm-hmm.
call it, because it gets that color from our water and our atmosphere. But just because it's the only planet we know of that we can actually see and interact and play with the liquid water on the surface doesn't mean other worlds don't have water. Water ice is apparently everywhere. And if just by moving out a little bit, let's go to the moon. It is projected that the moon has about 1.3 trillion pounds or 600 billion kilograms of water ice right there on the surface and maybe a little bit underneath the regolith at the poles. And that's why we're thinking about sending probes there.
Love it. I also
Mm-hmm.
think that like in terms of setting up a base on the moon, I'm not sure if this is going to be part of the third Artemis mission or it might be part of the follow-up Gateway development. But like the creation of oxygen fuel from frozen H2O,
Mm-hmm.
and also just like taking the ice and melting it for drinking purposes. Like there is so much in terms of production and life support that can be done based on resources that are already on the moon. So it's not like if we build a permanent base or settlement on the moon, we'll have to constantly be sending stuff up there. Like at a certain point, they'll be independent. They'll get their own jobs. They'll be sending their own rockets. Um, it's really cool that the solar system is set up like that.
Mm-hmm.
Very lucky.
As our past guest, our first guest, Dr. Demos said, the Blue Origin flights are flashy and everything, and they get high paying tickets, but they're also proving a concept that these
Mm.
are rocket flights that are using liquid oxygen fuel. That, in theory, fuel you can just make from the moon, which is where Blue Origin is thinking to go. Um,
It'd probably be
What
easier even to make
probably.
LOX, liquid oxygen, on the moon. Now, when I say
Hmm.
LOX, I'm not talking about the stuff that you put on cream cheese bagels.
Oh
The
God,
LOX
sounds
are
good.
liquid oxygen. Requires very cold temperatures, and it would probably be even easier to maintain and produce that on the moon, as
Hmm.
opposed to here on Earth. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, interesting. And these are at the poles because the
Yes.
poles are the parts that get the least sunlight. So
That's
there
right.
may have been water on the surface elsewhere, um,
Hmm.
but as that would have been illuminated over time by the sun, it would have been vaporized. Yeah, super cool. And that's right next door. It's on the moon.
Right there. It's really close. 250 million miles. No, 250,000 miles away. Sorry, 250,000 miles away. It's like close. And I don't
How
know what
many?
that is in kilometers, but it doesn't matter.
Can you tell me in Taylor Swifts? How many Taylor Swifts away is that?
Carry the one point. A lot.
A lot, a lot of Swifties.
A lot of
Giga
Swifties
Swifts.
away. Let's keep moving on.
Let's keep moving on. Onwards and
Further
upwards.
away from the moon, going away from the sun, there's this reddish planet called. Come on.
Oh, I know this one. I know this one.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah.
ooh. Snickers.
Snickers.
Uh,
On planet Snickers, aka Mars,
Yells
um,
on Mars.
there actually had a surface ocean, which we believe. Estimates say that Mars has about 13% left of its original water,
Hmm.
which sounds like a lot. Um, and there's water in several places that we're finding on Mars. The more and more we investigate, the more and more we land in orbit, we're learning that Mars has water everywhere. There's ice, water ice, and dry ice on Mars, frozen at the poles, and there's water ice uh, frozen, like in huge swaths, just like acres and acres and acres and acres of water ice under the soil. We even discovered at the poles underground there are actual liquid salty lakes
Mm.
underneath the poles, which are lakes of salt water, like very, very salinated water. And we've also found mud, actual watery, air quote, watery mud that can be seen slowly sliding down hillsides during the summer seasons. And
Martian mudslides. Love it.
it's Martian mudslides. It's there.
I think it's something that we've discussed at length in previous episodes, but the process of purifying and treating water that's found on Mars, as you mentioned, it's pretty salty, and I know that those. The reason why that massive polar underground lake is believed to be liquid is because of the chemical composition. So that would clearly need to be treated and desalinated before it's consumed by humans. I mean, it's a great example of one of these technologies where if we perfect it for the purposes of space exploration, like a NASA spin-off, it would be incredibly useful for us to do salination or desalination rather more efficiently here on Earth. Just something to consider.
Exactly. This is the prospect of water or ice water is not just something you can drink, but these are all possible, I guess, way stations that we could, or refilling stations, I guess you could say, soon to be bought by Exxon and Texaco and everything, and they're going to own little parts of different planets. And if you want some locks, you're going to have to stop by them.
Oh man.
Having fun.
Loving it.
Moving out from Mars. Before we get to the
Yes.
planets, we have the asteroid belt. And as everyone thinks of asteroid belt as that part that scene from Empire Strikes Back, where there's asteroids everywhere and you have to navigate through it and blah 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 blah. That's true because Star Wars is real, but that was a galaxy far, far away. In this solar system, we have an asteroid belt, and even though there are a great many asteroids, it's very spacious. And one asteroid in particular, Ceres, is huge. And the NASA's Dawn mission that went out there to investigate saw some very bright spots. And the closer it got, there was a bright spot. And the closer it got, that bright spot turned out to be several bright spots. And they got closer and they realized those bright spots are actually parts of the surface of Ceres where the dust and whatever have been cleared, possibly from an impact, and left the water ice below reflect in the sunlight. And that's another place where there's water, another water world, I guess you could say. That's frozen. That's frozen.
I think it's incredibly interesting to consider the distribution of ice and water in various forms throughout the solar system, right? Because the objects in the solar system, for the most part, planets, asteroids, comets, etc., are generally formed from the debris left over after the formation of the sun, right? You'll often see these images, especially from like far infrared or sub-millimeter telescopes like ALMA, the telescope in Chile, that will show a protoplanetary disk, right? A disk of material swirling around the star after the star's finished forming. And so I wonder if hydrogen is the most common individual element in the universe, and water is made of hydrogen, whether there are a lot of systems that the entire system contains a distribution of ice like this. There could be some that don't have any, but I feel like if you find one object in a system that has water in some form, it's likely that the other, objects in that system also do.
Isn't something like 70% of the elements in the universe is hydrogen?
Yeah. So hydrogen was basically, or is basically, the simplest form of matter. After the Big Bang, things started off very simple. We talked about this on a previous episode with our guest, Dr. Marcus Mosbeck, but it was, hydrogen was the first thing to form. It formed abundantly, and that's why, it basically started everything else going. Clouds of hydrogen collapsed to form the first stars, and then, those stars formed heavier elements and, things like oxygen, for example. And it's basically this process of all of this hydrogen collapsing into stars and then turning into other things that has led to all the other elements around. So especially since we started off with so much damn hydrogen, that's why the universe continues to be hydrogen heavy, baby.
That's really funny. Just a complaint. So much damn hydrogen. So much.
The amount of hydrogen.
Damn.
This universe is too damn high.
Just imagining somebody out there in the universe, considering all things possible. There's probably one being just God, walking around. Oh, so much damn hydrogen.
So
swatting it away from his face. There's too much.
Some individual alien in some distant star system who has an allergy to hydrogen.
That would suck.
Oh, man.
This is fun.
I did get a comment recently from someone. It's like, I love the fact that you get to the end of every episode and you're like, this is fun. This is a good episode. I'm like, yeah, because they bloody are. Like, yeah,
they're great.
Time.
They're great.
But not to worry, folks. This is not the end of the episode. We've still got plenty more good stuff coming at you.
Plenty more.
What else have you got for us, Benjamin?
A trilobite.
A trilobite? You have a trilobite?
I'm holding a trilobite, yes.
You have an actual trilobite?
Yes.
Dear
Check that out.
God, it looks like a trilobite.
Poop.
Yeah, I was about to say for the people listening at home, this kind of does look like petrified
There's a
poop.
no,
Uh,
it's not. I got a trilobite. His name's
Trilobite.
Mike.
Mike the Trilobite. I love it. I love it.
I went
How
to
old? Yes.
a gem show with my daughter some years ago, and there's lots of different gems, whatever. But people also bring in crystals and other little things that they've dug up, and of course, things you dig up are fossils. And so some guy had this box, and it looked like it was full of dirt, but it had a box full of trilobites. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me! So I bought one for my daughter, and I bought one for myself. And and the joke was, that's why his name is Mike. The joke was that there's these two trilobites and social contract. One's a total asshole and obnoxious, but by social contract, the other one just like lets him be and fine, just leave me alone. And so, so one of them was always like, "Hey, Mike, hey, Mike, how you doing? How you doing? Hey, you know what I did today, Mike? I went to this place, Mike. I went to that place, Mike, and blah 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 blah." And Mike, the trilobite's like, "Yeah, whatever, Fred. Fine. Just good. See you later." And then something happened during the Cambrian epoch, and Mike and Fred got fossilized together. For hundreds of millions of years, they've been stuck together. And Mike here has been listening to my daughter's trilobite. Hey, Mike. Hey, is it cold here? Hey, Mike, this is weird. What are we doing in this box? Anyway, so I have a trilobite. Long story for everybody, but there's my trilobite, one of my little desk
I
doodads.
love it. I love it. Sounds like the
Yeah,
perfect thing to carry with you on a road trip.
yeah.
To
I
keep
wonder
you
if I could
company.
take it in the. I wonder if what would think of it in TSA.
Damn. I mean, the
Yeah.
oldest thing that I have. I mean, probably like off by several orders of magnitude. I have this little pin.
Mm.
This little pin that not sure how well you can see it. But
What
it's a
is it?
little pin commemorating the Malongolo telescope, which was a telescope that was built in the 60s. It's a radio telescope
Mm.
built in
Nice.
Australia in the 60s. And it was massive. It like covered this huge area of like, it had like these long um, kind of not quite parabolic, but imagine like a skateboard ramp,
Sure.
like a long half tube, right? Of mesh and wiring, and that was like about nearly 2 kilometers long. It was like 1.6
That's
kilometers,
long.
which in miles that's like over a
Almost
mile
one.
long. Yeah, and
Mm-hmm.
it's several Taylor Swift long. Um, but yeah, basically this thing was huge. It was going for probably close to 60 years observing the radio sky. It discovered the uh, the pulsar that's inside of the Vela supernova remnants. Have you heard of the Vela pulsar? It's
Talk about it every
discovered
day.
that. Yeah, every day. um, found a bunch of fast radio bursts. It's like basically been the place where probably like 3 or 4 generations of radio astronomers did like their graduate work and learned how to do radio astronomy there. So it's like in terms of discoveries and also education and stuff like that, the Malongolo telescope was incredible. So yeah,
That's
I have
awesome.
this little pin, this little badge that commemorated the farewell to Malongolo. That's it's not quite as old as your trilobite, but I don't know. I
Pretty
think it's
cool.
neat.
It kind of looks a little bit like my gold coin that commemorates the first launch of the space shuttle Columbia. Thank you very
Ooh,
much. Yeah, that's the back. Look at that.
very nice.
Ooh. Yes, indeed. Yeah, I got one of those. It's solid gold. Not bragging. They only gave
Well,
it out when they launched the Columbia the first time. Not bragging. Yeah, I got
well,
that.
well. I, I, I have this badge. Somebody made this badge for me when I published my paper on the coldest star found to emit radio, and it's a badge that I wear that says that I am hotter than T8 Wise.
Are you
J06.
hotter than that?
I no, no, I'm not. I mean, it's got a temperature of like 420 Celsius. Like it's pretty
Okay.
damn hot by human standards, but very cold by,
By stars.
yeah. I
And
mean,
you discovered it.
it's even cold by pizza oven standards. So,
Okay.
so yeah, that's all I got. I don't have a fancy gold coin, but I got a badge that says I'm hotter than a dwarf star.
But you discovered it, so that's cool. I can keep. All right. I got a bar of soap designed for washing what?
I'm
Yeah.
not, I'm not gonna say it.
Read it. Read it aloud, my friend.
Uranus. It's
Uranus
Uranus
soap.
soap.
That's right. If you want to keep that planet clean, the bar of Uranus soap.
Well, I have a pencil.
Oh yeah. Well, I got a pen, and it lights up. Bam. Ugh!
Damn it. Okay. This is too
Okay.
much. This
All
is
right.
too
Anyway.
much.
All right. All right. Back.
Uh,
Oh.
I have a water bottle, and now let's talk about water again.
Oh yeah. Well, my water bottle has NASA stickers on it.
Well, my water bottle has constellations and a quote that says, "Don't tell me the sky's the limit when there are footprints on the moon." Boom.
Okay, that's kind of cool. All right,
Kaboom.
that is cool. All
We
right.
need to find
Okay.
a way to
All
let
right.
this out in a healthy way. This one-upmanship.
All right. Let's get back to talk about. I'm gonna have a sip of water.
Yeah. I was providing
All right.
some
Now that
drinking
I am
music.
refreshed by some dihydrogen monoxide. Are you familiar with Penn and Teller?
Penn and
The
or Teller, yes.
yeah, they had a wonderful show called Bullshit on Showtime,
Okay.
and they did all sorts of things, lots of man on the street stuff, and they sent someone out, man on the street, getting people to sign a petition to ban dihydrogen monoxide.
Oh
The
Lord.
government knows about it. They put it in everything, and people were just signing it left and right. Like, of course, of course. Yeah. Anyway, you know who hasn't heard of Penn and Teller? It's Jupiter's moon Europa. That's a terrible segue. Yeah.
I almost don't want to take it. It's that bad. No, I don't want to take it. I'm gonna ease you into it.
Ease me
I
into it.
think. Okay, so we were talking about trilobites before, right? Prehistoric life. Hey, there he is. Petrified poop.
Mike.
That's allegedly Mike. Yes. So what's interesting about Mike and prehistoric life is that the way in which water behaves is basically responsible for prehistoric life surviving ice ages, right? Because so water, its density actually decreases when it cools and freezes and solidifies, which is not the case with most other things. And so basically, what that means is that when water freezes, it floats on top of water that has not yet frozen. Right. That's why you have this idea of a layer of frozen water ice on top of a lake, on top of a body of water. Um, if the density of H2O increased when it solidified and froze and got cooler, you would basically have lakes that would freeze from the bottom up rather than the top down. And because things
Mhm.
have, because water freezes from the top down, it meant that prehistoric life, like your trilobite friend over there, that prehistoric marine life, was able to survive under the frozen top layer of water despite the ice ages. And if not for that, life on Earth probably would not have survived. So yeah,
Grandpa?
exactly. Papa. So yeah, it's when we look at moons like Europa and Enceladus that have these frozen outer layers of water, um, there's a non-negligible chance that there is liquid water underneath that, and that liquid water may contain life in some extreme form.
Mm-hmm.
There's your segue.
That's a good segue. Now, Europa.
Go for it.
We started this episode out having a great time, working our way out from Earth to other different worlds to see where there's water. We went to Earth and Mars and the asteroid belt. Now we're at Jupiter, and Jupiter's moons, especially its biggest ones, the Galilean moons. They are believed to be rich in water. Uh, Europa the first, which we're sending a mission to shortly, called the Europa Clipper. There's a lot of things happening on Europa. Surface is ice, but there's even more water underneath in a salty ocean. And we believe there's more water on the moon Europa than all the water here on Earth.
Hot
That's a
damn.
lot of water.
It's a lot of liquid.
Um, we believe that the underneath, as Kavi said, the thick layer of ice on the outside, that there's liquid water underneath. And one of the reasons that it could be liquid is from the tidal heating from Jupiter. Helps keep things moving and helps keep things warm. And it's water and a lot of elements underneath there that you need for the building blocks of life. It's warm to a degree. It's protected by a thick layer of ice, and it's a very possible place where we can find water. And God, who knows, maybe more. Cool thing
Hmm.
about Europa is that there are little. It's theorized that there are possible little pockets of liquid water on the surface, and there are little heated pockets of when
Would you
little
call them hot pockets?
hot pockets, little hot pockets of like, gosh darn it, the word thermal events are coming up through the surface of
Thermal vents.
the
Yeah.
ice, and they come up, and it when you melt the ground here, you get something called lava. But if you melt the ground on Europa, which is made out of ice, you get water. So we might see some of that in Europa.
It's
And go on.
Oh, so I was just going to say it's really interesting the crossover between um, with astrobiology on Earth,
Mm-hmm.
or I guess I should say biology on Earth and astrobiology, like looking for life in space, where you can see these similar sort of thermal vents, with extreme temperatures and extreme conditions here on Earth, that they are finding microbial life. And this is not an area that I know too much about. We should definitely get an
Mm-hmm.
astrobiologist on here soon to talk about this sort of stuff. But you can find extreme forms
Yeah.
of life that can, I should say, you can find forms of life here on Earth that can survive in these extreme conditions that we see both on Earth and also in these hot pockets in these thermal vents that we're seeing on Europa and Enceladus. So there may be life in
I want
space.
hot pocket. Love it.
I have only myself to blame for that one.
Other moons around Jupiter. Ganymede, the
Yes.
largest moon in the solar system, the only moon with its own magnetic field, and it's believed to have also a completely covered in a surface of ice with subsurface oceans of water underneath. And studies have indicated that there might be shells of ice, ocean going down like layers towards the core of Ganymede, like a giant jawbreaker. I don't know if he knows what they are. He's in
Yeah,
Australia.
I
I
know
don't
what they are.
know. So possibly Ganymede, if you go down, it's like you drill a little bit, swim a little bit, drill a little bit, swim a little bit. and it sounds like I don't even know how they can figure that out, but NASA, they're awesome. Callisto's another one. Uh, we know a little bit less about Callisto than we do Ganymede and Europa, but we do believe that it is covered in the surface is actually 124 miles thick or 200 kilometers thick
Hot
of
damn.
just water ice, and then beneath that there is a 6 mile or 10-kilometer deep ocean underneath all that for Callisto. So water is orbiting Jupiter in very fanciful ways. You want
I
to go
love it.
further? We can go further. I got notes.
I reckon we do one more.
Let's do a fun one.
Yeah.
Let's go to Saturn's moon Titan. Uh, we mentioned Enceladus earlier. It's very Europa-ish. It's kind of Saturn's version of Europa. They both start with letter E. I mean, it doesn't get much more similar than that. But Titan, very famously, is Saturn's biggest moon, the only moon in our solar system that has its own atmosphere. Uh, it has flowing liquid on its surface, but it's methane. And when the Huygens lander, Cassini went to Saturn carrying Huygens and dropped Huygens through the atmosphere onto Titan. Where did Huygens land? Beautifully, it landed in a riverbed. And that's because there's liquid movement on the surface. There are seasonal movements on the surface. Um, it's beautiful. And all the way down, Huygens was, taking pictures in every which way. I think it set the standard of what video feedback should be from landing on another world. It was just amazing. Uh, and we noticed that there were distinct colors in, I guess you could say, the mountainous rocky areas of where it was descending. Some very, very, very bright and some very, very, very dark. And the dark, we believe, is water ice. And the, when they landed and all the feedback came back and they did all the pinging and whatever, they believe that Titan has a subsurface ocean that covers most of the little world there, just as salty as the Dead Sea here, starting about 50 kilometers or 30 miles down and then going deeper. And there's salt water. And the beautiful part about that is, just as Kovi mentioned earlier, we're finding life living in the most impossible places here on Earth. The Dead Sea was named the Dead Sea because nothing could live there. But we have found life in the Dead Sea. So there's a possibility that Titan has quite a bit more underneath its hazy clouds.
That's wild. I love it.
It is wild.
I love it. Man, and I thought we were going to spend this whole episode talking about Kevin Costner. I'm glad we spoke about space as well.
Oh, thank goodness we stopped talking about Kevin Costner. However, how awesome, because we did say earlier, I like baseball and science. And Kevin Costner has been in some great baseball movies. So, yeah.
Build it, they will come.
Oh, yes.
Love it. Love it. Great. But yeah, we should definitely get an astrobiologist out here to join us on this show.
That would be great.
If folks listening at home or watching on their TikTokies have any recommendations for any astrobio peeps that we should speak to.
Or if you are an astrobiologist peep.
Yes. Yes.
Please,
if you are an astro person. Yeah. Hit us up. We'll have a chat.
First of all, wouldn't that be great? That means an astrobiologist is listening to our show. That's awesome.
Love it. Love it. The best way to get scientists on this show would be to say things that we know are wrong, because that's the fastest way to get engagement on the internet, right?
Okay. So,
yeah.
There's too many lasers on Europa for there to be life, and I think it's cube-shaped it just defies logic. And if there is life on Europa, they are all left-handed.
Yeah, yep. And
There we go.
Europa would have been better if Britain remained part of Europa, because the
Right,
British left Europa.
they did. Oh yeah. The Europa exit.
A joke so bad that even Benjamin didn't get it. Love it. Oh, good
Wow.
stuff. Yes.
Well, I think that's enough for today. We have more worlds out there just in our solar system that have water that we know about, and we also have exoplanets out there that have water that we think might have water rather. Please look it up. It's an interesting read to find articles about this stuff because water is everywhere. Thanks for listening to our fun program. It's been a hoot.
And a hoot and a
Uh,
half.
hoot and a half. Kavi, if people wanted to reach out to you and tell you about astrobiologist peeps that they know,
Ooh.
how would they do that?
The best way for them to do that would be to find me on all of the social medias at Fun Fact Science. You can find me there. I will be there, doing the thing, sharing the science, sharing some memes. What about you, Benjamin? Where can people go to on the interwebs to find your beautiful face?
Ah, this face, this gorgeous punim. You can find it on the interwebs at Science Actually. We're on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and TikTok and Hive and Mastodon and Blue Sky. I remember that one this time, and LinkedIn. And yeah, I mean, really, if you want to watch old episodes, Kavi and I have done, you can watch the video on TikTok and do it now before
Yes.
TikTok is taken down because people are moving to take it down. I'll start putting it up on Facebook so that it'll stay there until
Yes.
Zuckerberg decides to take it down. So please find us on Science Actually and Fun Fact Science for Kavi. And thank you all for listening to our show.
Thank you, guys. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.